The H2O Show
on BBC Radio Solent.
I'm Shelley Jory-Leigh, and this week the programme is being recorded in Poole Harbour, which is great for me because this is where I grew up. On the show this week, I meet one half of a team in training to row the Atlantic. We hear all about Go Canoe Week, and stand-up paddleboarding makes a return to the H2O show. I've got a fantastic studio here today. It's actually the Poole Harbour Commissioners pilot boat. Yes, we're on the water heading towards the chain ferry, and my star guest and companion here today with me is Harbour Master Brian Murphy. Brian, what would you describe as your main job here?
My main job in this beautiful place is to ensure the safety of navigation on the water in Poole Harbour.
Now we're on the pilot launch here. We're heading out towards what for me would be the chain ferry, but more geographically, where are we?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We're heading towards the chain ferry, which is at the harbour entrance. We're in an area that's known as Brownsea Roads, heading outbound. So we're just passing Brownsea Island on our starboard side, and you'll just shortly be able to see Brownsea Castle just as we come around the bend, and then out to sea past the chain ferry.
Now Poole Harbour to me is famous, worldwide renown. Where does it rank in size and volume of traffic in the most famous harbours in the world, like Sydney? Where does Poole come into it?
Well, that depends who you're talking to, but you're talking to me today, so I would say that it's definitely at the top of that list. Poole Harbour is allegedly the second largest natural harbour in the world, but most certainly in Northern Europe. It is, well, as you can see, it's just a most fantastic place to work. Sometimes I don't consider this work, it's just a joy to be here. I'm very lucky, as are all the people who work and play on the harbour.
I mean, you say you enjoy to work here, and this is some of the best scenery in the world, but it's a very busy harbour and you have a lot of work to do. How busy does the harbour get with the volume of traffic?
Well, this harbour can get incredibly busy, up to 5,000 shipping movements a year, and we have approximately 7,500 resident leisure vessels in the harbour. So when we hit the height of the summer, you can imagine there's a lot of activity on the water from all sports, and with the small commercial traffic and the shipping as well. So we do have a lot to manage, but I'm lucky enough to have a great team behind me there. So we manage it very well, if I say so myself.
What are your biggest challenges?
Well, the biggest challenge is to manage all those activities together so that there's no conflict between them. So that is the challenge, maintaining safety on the water and ensuring that people can enjoy their day in Poole Harbour without any conflict. That's the main challenge.
See, to me, growing up here, I used to jet ski through here, boat through here, always under the speed limit, I might add. The chain ferry, to me, it all funnels down and the water's really turbulent and strong. Is that not a challenge? Because to me that's like a recipe for disaster there.
We don't use words like disaster at Poole Harbour. But you're quite right. I mean, that's where it all narrows, 360 metres across. It's the narrowest part of Poole Harbour, and obviously the shipping has to come in and out through there, chain ferry going across. So as you can imagine, if you were doing a risk register, which we have, that would sit pretty high at the top of the risk register. And we have to manage it very carefully, but we have a number of resources at hand that we can do that.
And where is your jurisdiction? Where do you sort of start and finish here in this vast amount of water here?
Well, in the opposite direction there's a couple of rivers, the Froome and the Piddle, so the confluence of those two rivers is the end of the jurisdiction, and the seaward end takes you out to just about to Old Harry Rock. So it's really the entrance to the channel where the ships come in. It's approximately near Old Harry Rock, so that would be the expanse of the jurisdiction, and all the waters in between those two.
Right, so the waters in between for our listeners, for sort of geographically, so say from the Needles to Old Harry, who's in charge of that sort of big bit in the middle?
The Needles to Old Harry comes under the governance of the Maritime Coast Guard Agency.
or sort of the coastline then. So if I went sort of from Christchurch, you're starting the Solent there, I guess, aren't you? So do you have to, is there a sort of changeover bit where Poole and Southampton have to discuss things together?
Well, Poole and Southampton don't, there's no boundary between the two as regards statutory harbour authorities, but certainly we do have discussions over certain things that are going on, whether that's at conferences, seminars or other meetings. But local authorities would look after the shoreline between the two.
Brian, I'm going to come back to you shortly and hear more about your amazing work here in the harbour. But while we're here in Poole, let's hear from some of the people who make use of the natural harbour here. Now, Mark Taylor is one of the coaches at the Poole Harbour Canoe Club.
Well, we're down at Lake Pier on the shores of Poole Harbour, looking out towards the Arne Peninsula, the great RSPB Nature Reserve, and further over towards the Purbeck Hills in the background and Round Island in the foreground.
How perfect. It's just beautifully scenic, and obviously the perfect place to learn to go canoeing. And next week we've got Go Canoe Week. Tell me what that's all about.
Well, Go Canoeing Week is designed to get more of us into canoeing. It's a nationwide initiative, and Poole Harbour Canoe Club is taking part in that, offering taster sessions up at our other venue, which is at the Dreamboat site on the River Stour at Wimborne, and you can book that through Moores Valley Country Park. So we're offering taster sessions as part of Go Canoeing Week, but also we should be down here as usual next Wednesday evening for our club night at 7:15, and if people want to come down and say hello to us at Lake Pier, they'd be very, very welcome.
Presumably that's a free taster session for anyone to have a go.
They're being organised by Moores Valley Country Park. Apparently it's adults only on that occasion, and
right.
it's going to cost £5, so it's well worth it. Any age, any adult age, ability, no previous experience needed.
And if you did the taster session and you loved it, would they come and join your club?
We would very much hope they would. We're always looking for new members.
How much are we talking membership? What does the club do?
You can get all the details from our website, but adult membership is about £30 per year, and a bit more for a family.
Perfect. I mean, £30 these days, that's a lot of fun, isn't it?
It is.
A great fitness, get the family together. Now, as far as the club goes, at the moment you haven't got the perfect clubhouse, have you?
You don't think so?
No, not really.
No. I tend to agree with you. Those two very ugly containers are not exactly the perfect venue for us, but if you look the other way, you can see a building site on the other side of the car park, and within 3 to 4 months that will be our brand new premises, which is going to be a fully equipped premises, purpose built with canoe storage and a club room and a shower and so forth. We will have this venue at Lake Pier and our other venue up at the River Stour at Wimborne, so what more could you ask for? It's going to be fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. Now, have you had funding to help you build this?
We have indeed. The club itself has been saving over many, many years, working very, very hard to get the funds together. We've had funding from various private donors, from various charities, and also from the British Canoe Union and Sport England, various grants. It's been fantastic.
Now, we've said what a great location we are here. Is this where we would teach the beginners to canoe?
Well, we would do. Traditionally we have taught beginners here because this has been our only venue. But you have to make sure the conditions are right. Obviously, if there's a lot of wind, a lot of tide, then it's not always suitable for beginners. But now with our new River Stour facility at Wimborne up at Dreamboats, we'll be able to teach more beginners up there.
Yeah,
so we'll use both venues.
You've got the flat calmness of the river,
flat water,
and then
absolutely.
they progress down here. When they get down here, where do your elite go? Where do your elite canoeists go from here?
Well, the marathon racers will, on a reasonably flat evening, will paddle off up to Wareham or round the harbour. Our intrepid sea kayakers will take off, either do a big circuit round the harbour, or they may paddle off down the Jurassic coast towards Lulworth, or they may even head for the Solent towards the Isle of Wight.
Will you do that on a Wednesday evening?
No, not on a Wednesday evening. On a Wednesday evening we have paddles for different levels and abilities, starting off from taster sessions and beginners right through to more experienced paddlers. And probably we wouldn't do more than 5 to 10 miles on a Wednesday evening, but the more experienced paddlers in their faster sea kayaks on weekend trips and other trips could do 30 or 40 miles. on a good day.
Wow, that's incredible. And you're going out into some pretty rough sea, aren't you? If if you're crossing sort of Poole over to the Solent.
Indeed. I mean, it's they're very seaworthy craft, the sea kayaks, but at the same time there's a lot about safety as well. So we take into account very, very carefully weather conditions, tide, and so forth. And we would only do those sort of long, more exposed trips in the appropriate conditions.
You said it's sort of adults for the next week, Go Canoe Week.
It is.
But do you teach children as well?
We do very much. I'm sure there's other Go Canoe Week initiatives for children, but at this club we have a very big junior section. We're proud of that, and we would very strongly encourage juniors to join the club and come along and give it a go.
Now, there's a lovely bit of history about this area as well, isn't there?
Yep. That jetty that you can see rather hidden behind the cars used to serve the seaplanes, which were moored just off the beach here. And they had a fuel supply which ran, I think, under the car park and along the jetty, and they were fueled up off the end of the jetty.
It's such a lovely idea, and I love the fact that you're doing fitness, you're getting out on the water and everything, and you've got the whole club atmosphere, which is going to look great in the new headquarters. But it's great when the sun's out. What do you do in the winter?
We still get out there, definitely. I mean,
really?
we will be down here doing paddles at weekends. Some of our whitewater colleagues will be going off and doing the whitewater rivers. The surfers will be down at Kimmeridge when the conditions are appropriate. But we also do indoor things. We do rolling courses in the swimming pools in the winter, and lots of other activities like that, and also water polo.
How many members have you got in the club?
We've got between 500 and 600, so it's a
Wow.
big club. And bear in mind that it's run only by volunteers. There's no one in any kind of paid post. So and the reason we have so many willing volunteers is because we're so passionate about our sport. It's such a fantastic sport, and that's why we want to get more and more people into it.
That is incredible. 5 to 6. We go to yacht clubs and they don't have that many
That's right.
people. And you're here at the moment in a car park
Running out
with
of two
containers. I'm glad you've got a big car park. That is amazing. I'm shocked, Mark. It's brilliant.
Well, I think it does tell you something about the popularity of the sport.
Why is it so popular?
I think, well, for us it's about fun, it's about fitness, it's about friendship, it's about challenge, it's about getting out there and doing something different and experience this amazing environment. And obviously we're here on the shores of this magnificent Poole Harbour. It's one of the biggest and most beautiful natural harbours in the world. It's such a great place to go out and see. There's so many backwaters, and a canoe or a kayak is the ideal vessel to get into these more shallow areas and just have the peace and quiet and the tranquility of these areas.
Now, I'm going to be a little bit controversial now. Have you lost people from canoeing to paddleboarding?
I'm not sure whether we've lost anyone, but we do want to embrace all kinds of paddle sports. So I'm not sure that there's very many of our members doing paddleboarding yet. I myself had my first go on a paddleboard recently and really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I think, although traditionally we are sea kayakers, whitewater canoeists and so on, we're also wanting to get into paddleboarding and sit on top type canoeing and so forth.
Yeah.
So we embrace all types of paddle sport.
I hope you have a lovely hot summer down here.
Please come down and join us and come out for a paddle.
I will. Well, if you could
bring
arrange
your
the
friends.
weather. Arrange the
We'll
weather, I'll be down.
arrange the weather, no problem.
Thank you, and
Great
good
to
luck
see
for
you,
the summer.
Shelley. Thank you
good
very
luck
much.
for the building. I can't wait to see that. That would be great.
Come back and see us.
And there's a link to their website on our programme page for today. Go to bbc.co.uk/Solent.
H2O on BBC Radio Solent.
I'm Shelley Jory-Leigh, and this week I'm in Poole Harbour with the Harbour Commissioners. My office is the pilot launch, and my guest is Brian Murphy, Harbour Master. Brian, where are we now?
We're just on our way back inbound from the harbour entrance where the chain ferry goes to and back and forward. And we're just passing the Sandbanks Peninsula on one side and Brownsea Island on the other side.
How many islands are there?
Well, there's 5 inhabited islands in Poole Harbour, and there's a number of smaller uninhabited, well, inhabited by birds and the wildlife, but there's 5 main islands in Poole Harbour.
And how many, what's your jurisdiction of miles? How many miles are you covering here, or square acres?
It is a lot of water. It's about 10,000 square acres.
That's a lot to cover, and when you've got the islands, I mean, to me, it's the perfect little hiding place for little boats to be round the corner that shouldn't be there.
Yes, but we're lucky enough to have some resources available, so we have radar, CCTV, AIS equipment, and patrol launches.
But geographically, it's a very difficult area to patrol and keep safe because you've got so many obstacles in the way.
Yes, the people who do patrol the harbour are very knowledgeable about the water, and they understand the harbour very, very well. And we work with other authorities as well who help us ensure that the harbour remains safe and a safe place for everybody to be.
Brian, talk me through a typical day.
My typical day?
Yeah, let's hear your typical day first. Is it just sitting in the boss's chair drinking coffee, or not really?
Well, typical day would be, yes, kettle on. That would be the first thing. But no, a typical day would be going through the incident log from the day previously. Hopefully, there's not too much in there. There'd be patrol logs from the evening before. I'd go through that, and then looking at what marine services we need to do for the day, which staff we've got in, what prioritise the tasks. And just making sure that everybody's got a good understanding of shipping movements, what's going on, what pilotage is required, is there any towage required, what boats do we need to use that day.
Toys required?
Towage, so tugs.
Towage!
It's the accent. We do have a jet ski that's a patrol vessel, or personal watercraft is the correct term.
So that's your day, so you are sort of really at the helm driving everybody. Now we've got a lovely chap here driving us. What's his name today?
This is Richard Thomas. He's been with us for almost 30 years.
Wow.
Man and boy, and he knows the harbour intimately.
So what would his typical day be? Would he be more sort of water-based and out on a launch?
Absolutely. He will spend most of his day on a boat transferring pilots to ships that are coming in. And also involved in the other craft that we have. He will crew some of the other vessels that we have.
To me this looks like quite a calm, peaceful day, but your eyes are everywhere. Even now talking to me, your eyes are everywhere, they're searching. You immediately lost sort of concentration earlier looking at a fishing boat. What made you suddenly look at that fishing boat?
You get a bit instinctive when you're on the water, and you're just looking for anything that may result in any incident, and so you're kind of tuned in, but you're also looking for unmarked craft, vessels that may not have purchased their harbour dues for the year. You're looking to see if anybody's in trouble. You just get in tune with everything that's going on around about you. There's certain areas where certain activities have to take place. If they're in the wrong area, you really need to go up and provide a bit of education and just advise them where they should be. So you're just trying to keep in tune with everything that's going on.
H2O on BBC Radio Solent.
Well, Brian, it's a bit windy out here and a bit chilly, so I'd like to go back into your warm cabin. But while we do that, let's hear from another user of the harbour as stand-up paddleboarding makes a return to the H2O show. Gary, I recognise this. It's a stand-up paddleboard, a SUP. I have stood on one before and fallen off on dry land. Just explain to me this is the perfect location, isn't it? So we're here off of Poole Bay.
Poole's brilliant for paddleboarding. You've got a very safe location. Kids, family, everyone can do it. The harbour is waist deep, so really not going to get in trouble. Obviously, you still have to look after yourself with buoyant shades and leashes and things, but it's a fantastic location. This autumn's been really good. We've had windy days, so there's a lot of kite surfers out today. Shame we can't get you guys on the water. But paddleboarding now is really taking off. The introduction to the inflatable paddleboards really has helped people because they're so much more easier to transport. So the last 3 years, paddleboarding's gone crazy. Everyone can do it. You see celebrities doing it. It's a sunny day when you do it, pretty much. And it ticks all the boxes for a bit of fitness, health, and lifestyle.
And cheap.
And cheap, yeah. Well, cheapish, I suppose.
Yeah.
Nothing's cheap. But yeah, I mean, you can get a decent board for sort of £500-600 with a paddle and everything ready to go. And you just roll it out the back of your car, pump it up, so there's no buying a roof rack, don't have to buy a van, and you can store on your stairs if you live in a flat. So it's,
How did it start? Who invented it?
Well, as with most sports, it start kind of far away in Hawaii. And it was really the kind of longboard surfers who kind of didn't have anything to do when there was no waves. So they were taking them outrigger canoes, standing up and paddling them. And exploring different bays, and then it developed. Most probably that was back in the 60s they were doing that, but it really developed into a sport in the UK and in Europe and kind of mainstream about 7 or 8 years ago. And there was lots of interest in paddleboarding, but they were 14 foot long, made of fiberglass, you really needed a van or a car transport. And then sort of 6 years ago, companies started playing around with inflatables, and then 4 years ago, inflatables got really good. And you can stand on, most people don't even know they're inflatable. So the fact that you can now put them in the back of your car, and also that helps bring the cost down, because obviously transporting something that's 14 foot long.
Okay, this one here that we're looking at there, that's not inflatable, is it?
That's inflatable, yeah.
You're joking?
No, it's rock solid inflatable. So it's a base of drop stitch material, so when it gets, you just put in 20 psi of pressure and it's rock solid. You can jump up and down there, there's no movement in it, it's rock solid. So yeah.
So 20 psi of pressure, how are you pumping it up with the foot pump, or do you need a machine?
It's like a hand pump, so it's a T-shaped hand pump, a bit like you would get like a bike pump, but bigger. Like the ones they use like on a sort of.
So can you show me what that's like when it's not inflatable?
Yeah, so we've just got a man here. Quickly, my man, and grab it.
Oh my god,
that's it. So wheeled bag, so you can just wheel it. So you can
that's
put
like
it on
a
the back.
suitcase. I could even take it on a plane.
You can take it on a plane because it weighs less. They're about 15 kilos, already pumped, paddle, bag, leash, ready to go.
I mean, that's really the size of a golfer's bag, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually shorter than a golfer's bag. So if you took that to an airport, they'd look at it and think it was a normal suitcase.
That bag there turns into that very solid paddleboard there.
Yep.
And where's my paddles?
The paddles are 3-piece, so they fit in the bag as well. But your pump's in there, everything ready to go.
I am impressed. Okay, just tell me the difference between that very flashy one up there, which definitely isn't inflatable, a very speedy one, and then the one down there, which was inflatable.
So it really comes down to shape. So really short, wide boards turn really easily, so you use them more in surf. And then a longer, thinner board goes better in a straight line, to use it for racing. So the one you tend to buy as a beginner, something in the middle, called an all-round board. So it's not too long, not too short, not
Which
too
one's
wide.
an all-round board?
So
then?
basically the one you were jumping on, or the second one down there on the back, the blue one, the starboard drive.
And is that's a solid one?
That's a solid board, yeah. But when you if you took two boards the same, they're very similar widths and lengths. So if you buy an inflatable or a hard board, you'll be looking at around 10'5" to 10'6" in length, 32 inches wide. That's a good start point.
Why would somebody buy an inflatable board over a hard board? What is it? Because you're competing or something?
They look a little bit shinier. They can have a slightly better precise rail shape, because obviously they're fiberglass, so you can put a little bit more shaping into them.
Right.
Inflatable boards, I would say, is 70% of the market, maybe 80% of the market now, just because they're easy to transport. And they are cheaper. So hard boards, you're going to be really looking, they start at £800 and go up to £2,000.
And who's doing it? Who's out there being a sup?
Everyone can do it. We've got people from age 8 up to 88. You see the celebrities doing it. So you open a magazine, there's normally someone doing it in somewhere warm. So it's a day when you turn up to the beach with the family and it's sunny. If you go windsurfing or kite surfing or dinghy sailing, the chances are it's windy, and you leave your family on the beach and off you go. Whereas this is a sport the whole family takes part in. So normally you'll end up, if we've sold a board last year, most people have come back for a second board this year.
I think it's incredible. And the big one that's on the outside of the shop, you're saying we could put a team of 4 people on that?
Up to 8 people. Yeah, 8 people, bit of team building. So it's a giant sup. It's 60 inches wide, 17 foot long. And that's again inflatable, and you can team build, go around, raft, messing around. It's just good fun,
I love it. I think it's fantastic, Gary. Good luck with the summer. I hope you get lots of lovely sunny, calm days.
Yeah, I hope so too, and hopefully we'll get you back on a sunny, calm day to get you out on the water next time.
H2O on BBC Radio Solent.
That's Gary Willingham from FC Watersports. I'm Shelley Jory-Leigh. This is H2O, and this week we're recording the show in Poole Harbour with the Harbour Commissioners. Brian is my guest, Harbour Master here. Brian, tell me a bit more about the actual launch that we're on here. This is the pilot's launch. So what length of boat are we here?
Yes, she's just about 12 metres. She was built bespoke for Poole Harbour back in 2007. In fact, myself and the coxswain here, we did the trials for her back then. And she's a dual purpose boat, so she's a pilot vessel and a patrol vessel. Very highly powered, capable of speeds up to 40 knots, and she does a very good job at both. Quick response, very good patrol boat around the harbour, and gets pilots on and off ships as her primary role.
When you take the pilots out to go on board the great big vessels, the containers, the cruise ships, etc., it looks incredibly hard. You've got to have massive skill behind the wheel to come alongside and get that person safely onto the ship.
Well, there's a lot of training involved for the coxswains. We need to make sure that they're absolutely capable of doing the job in all weather conditions. We've never closed down the pilotage service, so we operate all throughout the year in any condition. And yes, there's a lot of trust between the coxswain and the pilot and his crew, and we need to make sure that the pilot gets on board or gets off the ship safely.
Now we've got an array here. We've got a dashboard in front of us with lots of GPSs, switches and machinery on. I mean, it looks quite simple. It's not like an aircraft sort of cockpit, but just talk us through the dashboard here that the coxswain sat in front of.
Yeah, the dashboard has been built specifically for this pilot service. It's very ergonomic, so you've got the coxswain has everything he needs at his fingertips. He has his radar, his AIS receiver, obviously the throttles, the steering wheel, all the buttons for nav lights, etc. that he needs, his VHF, obviously his compass, and the engine management system he can see quite easily. The crew would sit on his right hand side, or the pilot, and they would be looking at the second VHF and the echo sounder and some other equipment that's there as well, some heaters.
Would he go out just on his own? It would be the coxswain and the pilot. Would there be somebody else on board as well once you've offloaded the pilot?
No, there would always be two on board, so there would be a coxswain and a deckhand.
This boat looks like it would go through all weathers, yes? It looks solid.
Absolutely, it's designed to operate in all conditions.
Do you also support and help with the RNLI or the if there's been an incident at sea, do you go out to that?
Yeah, we liaise very closely with the Coast Guard and the RNLI, but we get involved in a lot of incidents in the harbour when they happen. Touch wood, there's not that many, thankfully. But yeah, very regularly we'll find ourselves dealing with an incident.
Now, quite clearly that's obviously never with powerboaters, because we are the best behaved. Who is the sort of problems? Where are you called to the most?
Well, now that I know that you're a powerboater, I'm going to be reviewing that risk assessment, so we'll be looking very closely this season.
I'm driving back in a minute. I forget the 30 years experience. I'm going to drive this thing in a minute.
We have a system in the harbour called zoning, and we try and keep all the activities apart. So we have a separate area for personal watercraft, another one for water skiing, another one for windsurfing and kite surfing, and we try and keep them apart.
That's quite unusual, isn't it? Do other harbours do that?
I'm sure it goes on in some harbours, but we were probably one of the first to introduce that through our aquatic management plan, and that works very well.
Well, not every harbour's actually got enough room to do that scheme, so I think it's an excellent idea and a good plan for Poole Harbour. Well, from horsepower to muscle power now, a couple of lads who are based here in Poole are in training to row the Atlantic. Jay Olenich and Ross McLeod hope their boat Awesome Odyssey will send them into the record books. Ross, to me this is a tiny boat. What are you going to do in it?
So we're going to row the Atlantic, basically, from the Canary Islands to Antigua.
And when is this happening?
This is happening in December. It's the most sort of temperate time to do it.
Okay, so you haven't got long to go, 6 months to go, with intense training, everything. Who are you doing it with?
I'm doing it with a friend from my school days called Jay Olenich. It was really his idea. A couple of lads from his university did this in 2013 and took the previous record for the youngest pair. And he realised he could beat them immediately by doing it this year.
Okay.
And so he was originally part of another team, which didn't work out. Eventually started talking to me, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it.
And you were stupid enough to say yes?
Yeah, it took me about 30 seconds to say yeah.
How big is the boat?
It's 7 metres, that's 23 feet.
It looks very strong. It looks like it's made of good stuff, but it's a challenge and a half. So you're going to be the youngest pair.
Yeah, just by finishing, we'll break that world record. To do any ocean, we'll be the youngest pair.
Amazing. It starts in December. The route?
It's from the Canary Islands, La Gomera, to Antigua.
Tell me a bit about the boat, because she's not brand new.
No, the boat, she's done the Atlantic twice and the Pacific Ocean once as well.
So she must be made of good stuff to have gone all through that, and you think she's strong enough to do it again?
She's definitely a bit of a warhorse. She's a prototype of her kind.
Right.
So she's GRP epoxy foam sandwich, and the first one that was made. So it's got reinforced bulkheads. And it's all been refurbished by the previous owner, Team Hallen, who attempted to row around Britain recently.
Right.
That didn't quite work out for them, but we're hoping it'll work out for us.
So you've had to buy it. So have you had to raise that money? How much did she cost?
She cost 18,000 really, and we did really well to get a lot of equipment with that. The former owner David Hoskian was really generous in helping us. I believe he's going on to sail around Britain now in a tiny little boat. So you think this is small, you should see that.
So what sort of training do you guys do? I mean, do you train in a gym, or do you actually get out on this and sort of, try and go and replicate the Atlantic somewhere?
There's really no means of replicating the Atlantic. You can train all you like in the gym. It's good to have that level of fitness there, but it's really a mental battle, because you just have to have the mental strength to get up every 2 hours and get back into a very painful routine.
Now, have you and Jay ever done anything as hard as this together? You say mental, that the two of you, it's supporting each other, isn't it?
This will be our first challenge together. We've both done our own incredible sort of feats. Jay himself, he's a champion swimmer, so I think he broke the world record for the British record for the fastest 50-metre backstroke at 13. So he's a very good swimmer, which is reassuring to have.
That's useful, yeah.
Whereas I think the hardest things I've done is go to Arctic Norway with the British Exploring Society.
Right. And when you guys are so young, you've got your whole lives and careers ahead of you. When you've done this, is there going to be another challenge, or are you going to go off and get proper jobs, as it were? Well,
I think Jay's got to go back to university. I think myself, I don't have anything scheduled yet.
Okay, well, you're going to be fit and you're going to be a hero, so brilliant. Right, let's have a look at more. Let's go and look into the cabin here, which is where you're supposed to live, believe it or not. Yeah. He says it's quite spacious in here. He's lying, by the way.
It's bigger than other boats. I think we're quite lucky in that sense.
I mean, how tall are you, Ross?
I'm only about 5'11", so.
Oh my goodness.
Jay's a bit taller than me. I think he's about 6'1", 6'2".
In real adverse weather conditions, the two of you would be down here together?
Yeah, we just have to get in and sort of wedge ourselves against the walls. And
okay, so you're in here, you've wedged in, you've closed the hatch, no one's rowing. Are you just left to the elements? You've got compasses in here. How do you know where you're going once you're locked in here?
We have a chart plotter, which is based just above the door here. We've got maps which will be attached to the roof. We've got a compass and an auto helm. It's basically an automatic rudder which connects to the GPS and can control itself.
So from in here, with hardly any visual, you can actually steer and drive the boat.
Yeah, you can press buttons and go plus 10 degrees, port or starboard, just to try and keep into the waves.
And does one of you have your head out through the hatch looking to see that?
It may be the case, because obviously coming down the waves, they're about, there could be 5 stories and spread out over several hundred metres. So the swell, you pick up a lot of speed.
It's incredible.
So what we would do is send out a drogue, which is like a parachute, which slows the boat down, so that's really important. The worst thing that could happen is the boat just breaking up on impact.
Oh, I know. So like a sort of parachute drone out the back.
Yeah, or we just let a load of rope out the back, and that slows us down enough.
I'm going to get out of here before I start feeling seasick, and we're on dry land, because in here, bobbing around in 5-story high waves.
This is designed to go underwater, so if the boat's meant to self-right if it capsizes. So if it basically goes, we land on the roof and we wait for the boat to self-right.
And
so
does the water come in while it's self-righting?
It shouldn't do, unless we have these vents open that you can see below the hatch.
Right.
And it's designed to do that quite quickly, so hopefully...
Now, have you done that in training?
We will do before we go out.
And where will you do that?
Well, we're hoping to arrange with the RNLI. They have a pool storm simulator up there.
I know it well, unfortunately.
Yeah. So hopefully we can arrange something there.
Right.
It's just be good to know what you're getting into.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm a powerboat racer, used to being in canopies, but I'm in a harness with air attached to me. You are in a capsule with a GPS, which is great. Oh, what's this?
This is the battery compartment.
Wow.
Each one of those is... I'm not a weak chap, but they're quite heavy for me to lift as well. So a lot of the weight goes into that. And below where we're sitting is where the water maker, so it's our lifeline, is based in here.
Right, so a weather water maker. So that's the water maker that happens that's going on all the time?
But the water maker is our lifeline. It's the reason most crews drop out, is when they can't fix their water maker.
So you don't carry all the water you need for the trip.
Make it as you go.
Okay, and that's what we've just looked at down there.
Yeah, so that's a big desalinator. So it has several filters in it and a membrane. Converts salt water into drinking water.
So does it suck the salt water into there, and then it comes out where it's clean drinking water?
It comes out and it's stored in a jerry can on deck, hopefully. So we can carry up to 25 litres of fresh drinking water at a time.
And what sort of volume of water have you got to drink every day to get through this?
It's actually surprisingly minimal. Like 5 litres is, being very generous to yourself in these conditions.
I thought you'd have said a lot more.
No, you have to sort of conserve with the amount of energy you're using, because the chart plotters, all the navigation equipment drains a lot of the batteries. So you sort of have to be a bit nuanced in what you're having. And it's supposed to be a hard race, so you're eating 6,000 calories, burning 12,000. You're sweating out a lot, but you're only consuming 5 litres. It's really hard on your body.
Yeah, and so the training, apart from getting out into Poole Bay here on a bad day and off of Old Harry, what training have you done?
Well, we've done a 24-hour row, and we aim to replicate that just up on the rowing machine. It's going 2 hours on and off each.
But that's indoors on land, in sheltered.
Best conditions. Obviously, in some ways, it's harder because the boat's nowhere near as efficient, so the amount of energy you're burning on land is a lot higher.
Yeah.
In that space of time, I think we managed 174 miles in that day. We'd have to do that 90 days back to back, which is it was tough.
Yeah.
One of our main plans is to row around the Isle of Wight. If we can do that, then the Atlantic should be a doddle, because basically once you leave the Canaries, you'll be pushed by the trade winds from coming over the Azores. Right. That'll push us basically towards Antigua.
So the Isle of Wight is we all know it's quite challenging, the waters and the tides around there, so that's a really good practice. So when do you plan to do that?
In the summer, hopefully. We've got to go and do our radio licence and some RWA courses before we're allowed to do that, just because it's maritime practice. It's
quite handy that a really good practice playground for you is the Isle of Wight, which is sort of just across the way there, which, as we know, is very treacherous with tides and all sorts of things going. Now, you're saying that's harder than the route you're going to do?
In terms of navigation and vigilance, definitely. Maritime traffic in that area is immense, whereas once we leave the Canaries, we'll spread out, and we probably won't see another vessel for days on end.
Tell me the route from start to finish.
So we start in the Canaries from La Gomera, and we go across to English Harbour and Antigua, which is about 2,900 nautical miles.
3,000 miles, near enough, this trip is going to be?
Yeah, essentially. And it's the idea of the race is it's self-sufficient, so there is a support yacht, but that could be up to 1,000 miles away, and that can rescue you in the worst of situations, but bring spare parts.
How many other people are competing at the same time? Is it likely that you'll be alongside somebody, or you'll see anybody?
It's very unlikely you'll be alongside anyone for any great amount of time. It's forbidden really to interact with other vessels. Naturally just drift apart due to the currents and your rowing patterns, and because there are different categories, we have 4-man boats, 2-man boats, and quite a few solos this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how many people will be competing altogether?
There are 30 crews, I believe, entered this year.
This is amazing, Ross. I'm in awe of it. I think it's amazing. Where can we hear more? Where can we follow you?
Well, we have our own website. That's awesomeodyssey.com. That's OAR, some Odyssey.
Awesome Odyssey. Yeah, brilliant name, by the way.
Excellent pun. That's what we're here for. For the official race information, you can check out the Talisker Whisky Atlantic Challenge website. And they're the ones who run it, basically, Talisker Whisky. They took over from Woodvale in the last 5 years.
And do you have a tracker on here so we can see your progress?
We do have several forms of communication. We have an EPUB, so we can send back sort of coded messages in the form of a single letter at a time. We have a sat phone, so we'll have to radio in to base with Talisker at 12 o'clock every day, just to let them know what's going on.
Yeah. Fabulous. Ross, it's fantastic. Loads of luck. And just please come back to us and let us know how you get on when it's all over.
Yeah, definitely will.
And there's a link to their website on our programme page for today. Go to bbc.co.uk/Solent. It was great talking to Ross, and he was saying to us that one of the most dangerous parts of the adventure is shark attacks while they're actually cleaning barnacles off the hull. I was quite quite shocked when he said that one. This is H2O and I'm Shelley Jory-Leigh in Poole. Poole is home to the headquarters of the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, and now the town is celebrating the 150th anniversary of its own lifeboat station. Since 1865, Poole lifeboats have been called out more than 5,000 times. They've rescued more than 4,000 people and saved more than 800 lives. A new exhibition at Poole Museum charts the history of the town's lifeboat station and the men and women who've risked their lives to help others, as David Allard reports.
It was very much black oilskins and sou'westers.
From life jackets made of cork to modern all-weather dry suits. The kit has evolved over the years, but Poole's lifeboat and its crew remain firmly at the heart of this coastal community.
What we do is we go out into seas that can be seas that really we're encouraging everybody else to come in from, and where we go out into them. So they're trying to make sure that the crew are as safe as they can possibly be.
And it all started thanks to a £500 donation from an anonymous lady. The first lifeboat was called Manly Wood. Since then, at least 15 vessels have been stationed at Poole, crewed by hundreds of local volunteers.
It was seeing the lifeboat, going out and exercise on Sunday mornings. It's a small lifeboat town, and it's just something I always wanted to be part of, knowing that you can bring someone home safe.
In the Second World War, lifeboat Thomas Kirk Wright helped evacuate troops from Dunkirk. Jonathan Clark is the current coxswain. He's been on the crew for 30 years.
Part of the family for me, I always remember my father doing it before me. You're going through and looking at some of the pictures and things and thinking, I was on that service. This was a vessel called the Nibbler 3 that went aground early hours of one morning, and quite rough seas as well. And we had to go alongside, take the people off. We tried several times to tow the boat off, but she broke up and sunk there. But all hands were saved off her.
Many things have changed since 1865, but one thing hasn't: the dedication of the lifeboat volunteers.
Poole Lifeboat Station has brought a lot of people home that would not be here now, and we're very pleased to be able to offer that service.
The exhibition runs till August.
David Allard with that report. The lifeboat station has an open day in August, and we hope to be there to celebrate with them. We've all seen the multi-million-pound super yachts in ports like Monaco. Now just imagine helping to design, build or even test one of those super yachts. One of Poole's biggest employers is based on the water, and they have a major apprenticeship scheme. Neil Sackley has been chatting to Sunseeker's training manager, Alex Bowman.
We've been developing apprentices at Sunseeker for about the past 35 years. Robert Braithwaite clearly saw the potential and the return on investment you can gain from training young people. And if you look across our business, most of the people in senior responsible positions started their careers as apprentices.
What sort of roles are you looking for?
We're looking for 4 different types of apprentice. So we're looking for engineers and electricians who will learn how to fit and install and commission marine engineering and marine electrical systems. Those candidates really do need to be top performing in terms of maths and physics at GCSE level, but we're also looking for traditional boat builder shipwrights. We train our carpenters how to be traditional shipwrights. We teach lofting, and they would require 5 GCSEs A to D. The 4th position is within GRP laminating, and we're actually looking to give individuals who potentially haven't enjoyed school that much and really enjoy working with their hands the opportunity to join us without any minimum requirements.
You are a boat builder, that's your core business, but actually it's not just about boat building. There must be a number of things that go into a craft like this that an apprentice would need to be taught.
We're building dreams here, and we are fulfilling people's dreams. And I think that the apprentice is not just learning how to fit an engine, they are learning how to build the best engine room in its class. Our carpenters are looking at how do they fit out a cabin to meet someone's dream. I've heard someone say before that, if you have a dream, when you fulfill that dream, it has to live up to the expectation of the dream. And I think that we're training our carpenters and electricians and engineers and laminators to do just that.
What qualifications will they end up with?
The carpenters, engineers, electricians will end up with a level 3 in boat building and marine engineering, which is equivalent to A level, and the GRP laminators will end up with a level 2, which is equivalent to GCSE A to C in boat building and marine engineering. It's a formal government-funded apprenticeship which is delivered by our training partner, Bournemouth and Poole College.
and also the chance of employment with an international brand.
Well, clearly we want to retain the apprentices for the future, but with any young person who has achieved such an excellent qualification and apprenticeships, such as the Sunseeker programme, has opportunities around the world with our dealer network. We operate in 60 countries, but also with captains and crews themselves.
Sunseeker's training manager Alex Bowman talking to Neil Sackley. The scheme is now closed for this year, but if you go to their website there are details of how to apply for the next round. This is H2O from BBC Radio Solent. I'm Shelley Jory-Leigh, and this week I'm with the Poole Harbour Commission. I have a fantastic studio, it's the pilot launch, and my guest is Captain Brian Murphy, the harbour master. Brian, the diversity of the water users in this area is vast. We've got Sunseekers, super yachts, you've got ferries, you've got stand-up paddleboarders. How do you control it all?
Well, that is my primary role, is to make sure that all those activities happen on the water safely. I'm lucky enough to have a good team that helps us manage that. But we talk to everybody. We have regular liaison meetings with all the user groups. Anybody who's on the water will come to groups at Poole Harbour Commissioners, and we can discuss issues on the water. But every activity is carefully risk assessed, and control measures are put in place to make sure that it's safe.
How big is your team?
I've got 26 staff in the Harbour Masters department, and they range from harbour control officers, pilots, coxswains, dredger skippers, tug skippers, patrol officers. So there's quite a myriad of staff at my disposal, which makes life a lot easier.
Now, also to add to your workload, I just see we're just coming up to the Condor Ferry. Now, this is a new addition to the harbour, isn't it?
Yes, we've got the new Condor, the 102 metre. She's a monohull, stabilised monohull design. She's a 102 metre fast ferry from Poole to the Channel Islands. And yes, she started service a couple of months ago.
Now also, Poole has just had its first boat show here in the harbour, I believe.
Yes, that was a fantastic weekend actually. Over 15,000 people attended that show. It was a free-to-enter show over the 2 days, and the feedback has been absolutely positive, and I can't wait till next year till we do it all again. But it involved a number of exhibits, tall ships, there was water demonstrations, and it was just fun for all really, and it was a good family event, so children were more than welcome. We had a stage with live music on throughout both days, which went down very well, and it was a bit of work, and we had to manage it safely, but I'm really looking forward to next year till we do it again and make it better.
I think it's great that we can have all these boat shows opening up along the coast, because it is so different in each area. And now you've only done 2 days. Do you think next year you might extend a bit to a week?
Well, watch this space. Next year we may extend it to 3 days, and the following year it's likely to be extended for possibly over a week. You're right.
Now, Brian, it must be seasonal, this job. You're looking at something. What has something caught your eye? You seem to be looking at something there. I thought something on the water, and you were like, oh, I'm not very happy about that.
No, it was something I thought was going on, but it wasn't. So
okay, so we haven't got to go on an emergency call-out just yet?
No, not quite.
Oh,
no.
Shame. I was really hoping something drastic would happen and we could go off at high speed. The job is seasonal. Everything to do with the water and the sun and the sea. What's your favourite time of year?
Well, you would expect me to say the nice sunny warm days when it's nice and calm. That comes with its own challenges. You get a lot of people on the water, and it's nice that everybody comes and enjoys themselves in Poole Harbour, and that's what happens. However, in the winter when it's nice and quiet, life on the water is a bit quieter, But
you've got other challenges then because of the weather and the exposure, so do they sort of all balance out?
Absolutely. When it's obviously the weather is poor, you've got the challenge of getting the ships in and out of the harbour. But the quieter periods in the winter tends to be the busier periods behind the desk. That it's a double-edged sword. It's calm on the water and it's more activity behind the desk. So personally, I prefer to be on the water.
Brian, I couldn't agree with you more, and this has probably been one of the best, no, this is the best studio I've ever had. A pilot launch on Poole Harbour, on the water. It's been great, absolutely brilliant.
It's been nice to have you on board.